Welcome back. It's been a little bit, but I'm back, and this week I'm going to be covering a plant that I have incorporated into my diet, but I've done some additional research just really digging in to learn about oregano. So, what is it and what can it offer you? So, when I first think of oregano, I'm thinking of something like maybe pizza or pasta sauce. But oregano has actually been used for other things for much, much longer than just now, right? So like back in the Greeks or Roman times, oregano was used for health benefits like aches and pains and infections. Ultimately, oregano can do a lot more for our bodies than just make our food taste good. So, I spent some time this week digging in and learning about oregano, and I wanted to share what I learned with you guys today. So, let's dig in. First off, oregano is an antioxidant superpower. When I found out I had cancer and was looking for things to, help be anti-cancer. Ultimately my goal is to make my body a place where cancer cannot come back. Oregano came across as one of the things that potentially has some benefits. And so I introduced it into my daily routine. And part of the reasons why was of its antioxidant capacity. So the research I did, there's basically two components of oregano that fight antioxidants. So it's clavicol and thymol. These are the molecules or the underlying pieces of oregano that are super antioxidant powerful and ultimately play into most of the reasons why oregano is great. But dried oregano in particular has a very high antioxidant capacity. So there's this value that in the lab they can measure. It's called ORAC. But it basically it's their measure of antioxidants. And one of the highly antioxidant foods, blueberries, was compared against it to see, what kind of levels they have. And oregano was roughly 37 times more potent than blueberries. Now, you're obviously not going to eat like a big old bowl of oregano like you might a bowl of blueberries, although you're probably not going to eat a bowl of blueberries either. But it has significant power to be antioxidant. And what the benefit of that is you have in your body free radicals, which are molecules that can go in and impact aging and ultimately do bad things to your body. And highly antioxidant foods can help fight that. And so oregano in particular does that. So oregano, antioxidants, it's where it's at. And it is worth getting into your daily routine. So that's one. The second thing that oregano can do for you is it actually has some anti-cancer potential. Specifically in studies done in vitro, so lab studies. They're not the same thing as human studies, but at least shows potential. So in lab studies, they used oregano oil, I think it was, or oregano extract. So obviously also a higher dose than you probably get eating. But they put it on strains of cancer cells, I think colon, breast, prostate, and they found that oregano could cause the cancer to go into antiposis, I think that's how you say it. But basically, it allows the cancer to die. And the reason why cancer is so bad is it's really hard to tell it to die. It just keeps living. It keeps growing. And so having even in a lab setting, something have an impact like that is pretty insane. Not everything does that. Although in a lab, it's much easier to kill cancer than in humans. So this is not a cancer cure, but if you're looking for an overall healthy lifestyle and you see all the benefits of oregano, the fact that at least in a lab it can kill lab cancer is definitely not a bad sign. And who knows what it can do in your body. Really, no one knows for sure. But it could play a part in actively preventing cancer. It's purely a hypothesis. It's not anything that has been proven. But it's worth a shot, especially when you consider the other things oregano does. So speaking of, another thing that oregano is beneficial for is blood sugar control. So a while back, I did a video about the 4 horsemen and talked about the different major disease that come after you. Well, the angel of death of the 4 horsemen might be oregano because it attacks all the major ones. So blood regulation, there were animal studies done that basically showed that taking oregano could improve insulin sensitivity and enhance glucose uptake. Really, the key here is it wasn't done as much in people, and you get mixed results. People are hard because they lie about food, and they don't do things consistently. So getting a great human study is really hard, but there is evidence, at least in animals, that regular oregano eating can help improve your blood sugar, which is obviously a common cause of chronic issues for humans. All right, so number 4, there's some neuroprotective benefits as well. Now this one is a little bit interesting. If we talked about the 4 horsemen, you've got dementia as one of those. Well, no one really knows, and this isn't the solution either necessarily, how to prevent or heal dementia. But it is interesting to see that in some tests with oregano, they have found that the compounds of it, carvacrol and thymol, have been able to penetrate the blood-brain barrier, which basically means they've been able to get into the brain. Now, in certain situations, getting into the brain is a horrible thing because it's like, oh crap, now whatever disease I have, it's in the brain, it's over, right? Like that's when it's all over. But in this case, what it is doing is it allowing those antioxidant effects to happen in the brain. And what they have found is it can cause anti-inflammation and some animal data specifically, so not the best test like human tests, but they found that the amyloid beta buildup was potentially reduced. And for those of you who don't know, which is probably a lot of people, but as I've been digging in, I'm learning more about it, that is kind of the precursor to what happens to your brain before you start to have dementia, Parkinson's, things like that. So potentially eating oregano regularly could lower your risk, at least, is a fair assumption, of those kinds of diseases happening in later ages. Now, they build up over time, obviously, and so this is a very slow approach. This is not a drug-level fix, but could it be part of a healthy lifestyle? I think it could. All right, now to kind of one of the big winners here is cardiovascular support. Now, the heart disease is the number 1 killer in the world, and the problem with heart disease is it just hits you and then you're gone most of the time. So you don't really get a second chance. Sometimes you do. We actually get a lot more second chances than we used to, but a big part of the time you get a heart attack and then it's over. Well, this one actually has a little bit more studies to it that have proven the direct correlation between oregano and good heart health. So there's clinical evidence of showing that taking oregano can decrease your your LDLs and increase your HDL cholesterol with oregano. So HDL and LDL, that basically is your good and bad cholesterol. And what it does is it decreases the bad cholesterol and increases the good cholesterol. That is what you want if you're trying to, clean your arteries out and ultimately heal or prevent heart disease. Okay, so oregano can do a lot of things, but that's not it. It also has some antimicrobial attributes as well. So I don't think it's as potent as something like garlic, and definitely not as potent as an actual antibiotic. But they have found, and maybe in the case of even like the Romans or Greeks, taking oregano can help fight off certain strains of bacteria. Now, the cool thing is you're eating it. It's not toxic. It's not an antibiotic in the sense that it blows out everything along the way, but it does. It's like a mild antibiotic maybe that can help fight bad bacteria. Now, if you get an infection, you're probably not going to want to go just eat oregano, but you might have stuff floating around in you that you don't know about, and it can help fight along the way. For instance, E. coli or candida, some of those things can be impacted by the benefits. Now, these are mostly tied to that carvacol and thymol actions. All right. Now let's talk a little bit about inflammation. So inflammation is kind of a precursor to a lot of things, including cancer. So to have oregano impact inflammation, that is, in a way, a risk factor of some of these other things, even cardiovascular issues and cancer and things like that. So the fact that we have found some evidence of oregano impacting inflammation is a great sign. So it modulates the pro-inflammatory, I can't even say this, cytokines, I can't even say it, and inhibits the COX-2 pathways. But basically, if we get outside the technical stuff, there's been evidence of studies that have found that it can help lower inflammation. Now, once again, this is not the equivalent of a drug. This is not that, but if it's part of an overall lifestyle, it's like you're hitting it from every different angle, right? You're hitting it from your lifestyle angles, and this gives it some extra, potency to go and fight that inflammation. So we talked a little bit about antimicrobial activity, but also it can promote a healthy gut as well. So, your gut microbiome, that is kind of the key to your health. And if you can get your gut good, odds are your health's going to be good. And unlike an antibiotic that will go in and blow out all the bacteria, oregano can get rid of the bad while also building up the good. So it targets some of the bad stuff. We talked about that a little bit, maybe SIBO or candida, while also sparing the good bacteria. And as a light side, it can even alleviate things like bloating and gas. Granted, this is not going to be the game changer of your life, but it is additional benefit. And then kind of lastly, this one doesn't hit too hard because ultimately you're not going to be eating a lot of it, but it is actually pretty dietary complex. If you were to eat a lot of it, it has a lot of good things in it. It's got vitamin K, iron, manganese, and even some fiber. So it's nutrient dense, and it can be really beneficial for you. All right, so that's oregano. When I heard about oregano, I didn't know all of these things, but I had heard bits and pieces of them, and I was convinced that I should get oregano into my diet. What I did is I started just taking a teaspoon of it every day with some water along with garlic and apple cider vinegar, and that was super gross, but I did it because I wanted the benefits of some oregano. I didn't know what exactly it was going to do for me, but I wanted to do something. And over time, I adapted that into a broth that I kind of invented. And so now I take a teaspoon of oregano every day in my broth. Let me know in the comments how you use oregano in your day-to-day life, and I'd love to hear about it. Okay, so that's oregano. That's kind of the deep dive of this week. Appreciate you listening. Drop me a like if this was interesting to you, or let someone else know about the benefits of oregano if they are dealing with any of these chronic issues. The cool thing about oregano is it is non-toxic. It already tastes good, right? Depending on what you want to do, it can be a key ingredient. But the benefits that are packed behind it are kind of insane, and it is something that we should be adding into our diet. Maybe not every day like I am, but try to get it in when you can. Now, lastly, I want to put a little just disclaimer here. This is my research. This is what I found out. I'll throw some sources into the description if you're interested. Not all the sources, just a couple. This is not, a drug. Oh, and specifically oregano oil, while all these benefits sound great, it is actually pretty potent, and you want to be really careful with your dosage if you try to take that on. All right. Well, thank you for watching. I appreciate it. Join me next week. We're going to talk a little bit about stress, and I look forward to your thoughts. Talk to you later, guys.